Welcoming back to Pittsburgh Sunday Morning, it's our friends from Achieva, formerly ARC Allegheny, Western PA's largest provider of comprehensive services and supports for children and adults with disabilities and their families for their entire lifetimes. Every year, some 14,700 individuals and their families come to Achieva for assistance and support. So we welcome back Reed Wolf, Senior Vice President of Achieva and President of Achieva Supports. Welcome back, Reed.
Thanks, Sean. Great to be here.
www.achieva.info and then 412-995-5000. Achieva is the only agency of its kind in Western PA providing comprehensive services and supports for people with disabilities and their families from pre-birth and throughout Let me hit that again. From pre-birth and throughout an individual's entire life cycle. www.achieva.info, 412-995-5000. Read from early intervention therapies for infants and toddlers to in-home support for medically fragile senior citizens. You guys at Achieva, you provide this full spectrum of services for people of all ages and abilities and their families too.
Yes, we do, Sean, and we take great pride in the quality and the different types of array of services that we do provide. We have been providing these services for over 60 years, as you have said. We've helped to transform the way that the community perceives and treats its citizens with disabilities by creating awareness of the abilities of people with disabilities and by helping to change the negative perceptions and those that have thoughtless attitudes by destroying myths about disabilities. And we have, which I can go over, our array of services in terms of how we do provide lifelong supports and services to the individuals.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about that this morning. Reed Wolf is with us. He's Senior Vice President of Achieva and President of Achieva Supports. And though it was born right here in Western PA in the early 1950s, Achieva is now a world-renowned leader in the field of disabilities. It's an organization known for its innovative programs and steadfast dedication to infants and children and adults with disabilities and their families. The mission statement of Achieva: committing to excellence in lifelong services for people with disabilities and their families. And the vision statement of Achieva: the day when people with disabilities can fully participate in their communities. Nancy Murray, Reed, she's in Washington, D.C. She's still president of the ARC of Greater Pittsburgh?
Yes, she is.
Okay, serving Allegheny, Beaver, and Westmoreland counties. I still get email alerts from her as far as what's happening with Achieva. Reed, since the last time Achieva was here, I thought we could again provide everyone with just a brief history. Back in the early 1950s, Achieva grew out of the passion and dedication of parents who came together. Now, this is 40, 50, 55, 60 years ago. Mm-hmm. They all had a common purpose, these parents, to ensure that their children who had disabilities back in the 1950s, that these kids had the same chances in life that all children should be given. And that commitment changed the history of isolation and segregation for children and adults with disabilities, because I would imagine, Reed, back in the 1950s, 1960s, if you had a disability of some sort, especially as a child, even as an adult, a physical disability, a developmental disability, that would have been a really difficult time because of isolation and segregation back in our society. You were like just closeted.
Well, in talking with families back then who were raising their children back then and hearing from them, their only option that they were told was to be for their sons and daughters to be institutionalized.
Huh.
And that was their only option. So, yes, Achieva, or ARC of Allegheny at that time, was a grassroots effort by several families who did not want that as their option. They wanted their sons and daughters to have a fruitful life, to have a quality life, and to have options for themselves.
www.achieva.info, 412-995-5000. 5000. And Reed Wolf is Senior Vice President of Achieva and President of Achieva Supports. Reed, the last time we spoke, I pointed out how many prestigious awards Achieva has won over the years, so much national recognition and media coverage that you've received for the services and programs that Achieva provides to people with disabilities and their families. And people in your same field from around the country, they come to you here, you guys in Western PA, for advice, as Achieva also provides consulting advice in some 22 other states through both national and state boards. That number may have changed, by the way, since the last time we spoke.
Well, Marcia Blanco, who is our CEO, has done a wonderful job in terms of advocating for people with disabilities. We are very involved in both the ARC National and the ARC of Pennsylvania. We've also are very involved in a National Executive Council. So yes, we're out there trying to spread the word, trying to help other providers as well, not only locally but also nationally.
Achieva is Western PA's largest early intervention provider, Reed, nationally renowned, as we just mentioned, with more than 50 years of experience with infants and toddlers with developmental delays, 165 highly qualified Achieva professionals who have more than 1,300 years of combined experience with infants and toddlers. And we're talking again about Achieva's early intervention program. And this service includes helping kids with hearing loss, kids who may have speech delays, autism spectrum disorders, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy. And I also noticed a part of your support network at Achieva, Reed, for early childhood services is family support, and that all staff members in Achieva's family support department, they have either children or family members themselves with disabilities.
That's correct. And I think that speaks loudly in terms of them truly understanding what the other needs families are going through and being able to relate to that and being able to help share their experiences, whether it was positive or negative, and helping them even navigate through the troubling times that some of these new families who have infants with a disability needing services, being able to help guide them to reach the necessary help that a family may need.
Achieva provides early intervention services to nearly 2,400 children with developmental delays throughout Southwest PA. Southwestern Pennsylvania's largest provider of lifelong supports for individuals with disabilities and their families. It's the area's only agency to provide this lifelong partnership. www.achieva.info, 412-995-5000. Every year, some 14,700 individuals and their families come to Achieva for assistance and support. And Reed Wolf is Senior Vice President of Achieva, and Reed is President of Achieva Supports as well. So your vocational supports, Reed, your businesses, you guys operate 5 plants in Southwest PA while providing job training and supports to individuals with disabilities. You offer services and manufacturing assistance to local businesses themselves. All your businesses, Reed, the pallet manufacturing industry, the mailing and letter shop services, property maintenance, snow removal for both residential and commercial, and your cleaning and janitorial services.
Again, we like to try to provide as many operational type services as we can so that people have options. I think with vocational services that we provide, we wanted to have a stake in whatever businesses we could get into to be as innovative as possible so that we can be successful, and for the folks that are in those services, that they too are successful. As you said, we have a number of different businesses that we operate, and we operate them as a business. Our pallet manufacturing business is probably one of our fastest growing business. We average over 10,000 pallets a month that we make. It's individuals working hand in hand with non-disabled workers, and they really put out the work. And it's a fantastic thing to see, even though it's a business. It's really training individuals on what it takes to work, what skills one would need, and then hopefully having them move on into supported employment, into a competitive job into the community. community.
In these industries of yours, Reed, at Achieva, they're reliable revenue sources for your entire operation, correct?
Yes, the revenue that we receive from that, we reinvest it back into our services that we provide. So it helps us to provide more supports and services to people who are on the waiting list.
www.achieva.info, 412-995-5000. Achieva is the only agency of its kind in Western PA, providing comprehensive services and supports for people with disabilities and their families from pre-birth and throughout an entire individual's life cycle, from early intervention therapies for infants and toddlers to in-home support for medically fragile senior citizens. Achieva provides a full spectrum of services for people of all ages and abilities and their families too. Speaking of supports, Reed, you being president of Achieva Supports, you guys provide residential support for close to 230 individuals with various disabilities in 41 residential sites within Allegheny and Westmoreland counties. Your home care program provided over 300,000 hours of support to almost 450 people in both Allegheny and Westmoreland counties. The home care program, Reed, everything from respite to homemaker chore services to transportation. I can't imagine what people would do without Achieva.
Well, the home care program is really individually based on what the individual's needs are and what the family's needs are. And all families who have, even you and me, who may have kids that need respite, just to be able to have an evening to get away, we provide staff that come into the home to provide that. We also have staff that go to the homes to provide habilitative services, teaching them how to vacuum, teaching them daily living skills, teaching them community survival skills, teaching them how to be mobility trained. So we do an awful lot in the community, in the homes, and then we also have our community homes where we have people that live in our own community homes that we provide supports to.
And Achieva Advocates provided support services to 261 families, 1,200 hours of various advocacy services for 240 new families, and 1,400 hours of advocacy and technical assistance in Beaver, Allegheny, and Westmoreland counties. And though it was born right here in Western PA back in the early 1950s, we mentioned Achieva is now a world-renowned leader in the field of disabilities. It's an organization known for its innovative programs and steadfast dedication to children and adults with disabilities and their families. And whether it's all about the services you provide for those in early childhood who have disabilities, maybe adolescents with disabilities, adults and seniors who have disabilities, Achieva offers a respite program and camp and leisure activities for everybody. If you care for a special needs child or adolescent or adult or a special needs senior, respite is so important for the caregivers, Reed, and I know we talked about this, and I know that Achieva has its own camp up in Beaver County, Arc Beaver, where everyone's included no matter what their disability is.
Yeah, we have a day camp that we're going to be operating this year. It'll be mid-June to the end of July. And then we also provide a type of respite type situation for families where we have weekend camps where we go to different locations throughout Western Pennsylvania for the weekend. And we take up to 20 to 25 individuals, and we have staff that assist them. And it's just a weekend of fun.
That's great. Arc Beaver for Achieva, they hosted 29 recreational events for 1,200 children and adults, and its day camp provided 3 weeks of summer fun to more than 64 school-age children with intellectual and developmental disabilities just last year in the summer of 2013. And Achieva has an extensive home care program, too, providing everything from taking those out with disabilities, taking them out into the community to maybe a restaurant, a movie. As Reed pointed out, Achieva provides homemaker services for those with disabilities like basic laundry, cleaning, meal prep, transportation assistance, personal care assistance, all under the umbrella of home care services provided by Achieva, Western PA's largest provider of comprehensive services and supports for children and adults with disabilities and their families. And every year, I think the number again is 14,700 individuals and their families come to Achieva for assistance and support. www.achieva.info, 412-995-5000. Okay, Reed Wolf, Senior Vice President of Achieva and President of Achieva Support. Tell us about the largest capital gain campaign that's underway right now. This is the largest capital campaign in Achieva's history. Innovation in support of people with disabilities. Achieva's commitment to the community.
Well, as you know, Sean, no one can predict the future, but people and organizations can plan and likely scenarios. And government funding is always decreasing. And Achieva, we looked at this and we decided that through planning, we need to look at a better way to not constantly just rely on government funding. Through the help of Ginny and Dick Thornburg, who are our honorary chairs, and on our chair is Bill Demchek, who's the president of PNC Bank, and a number of hundreds of volunteers that have helped us. We started an $8.1 million comprehensive campaign, as you said. I'm happy to say today that we've achieved $7.2 million of that $8.1 million.
Wow.
Just through grants, through donors making pledges. We have several initiatives that we're launching that we want to do within this next year, and I can go through those when you would like me to.
Sure, right now, Reed.
We have a $2.5 million capital campaign which would help us address the waiting list. We have over 5,000 people who are waiting on a waiting list.
For various services Achieva
services
can provide.
Correct. And 800 of those people have aging caregivers. We know that with the 41 community homes that we have, that when someone needs a residential placement, they have to wait for a vacancy, wait for a bed to open up.
Sure.
We know that there are a number of families out there whose sons and daughters have grown up with one another who could go ahead and select them as a roommate, and we thought we could address this waiting list issue by matching these families up, what resources do these families have, and establishing a partnership with these families so that the individuals could live in an apartment or live in some other type of home setting, and then we in turn would come in and provide the necessary supports in that home. But it would be the person's home, and we called the program Home of My Own.
That's beautiful. What about the Achieva Family Trust initiative here, Reed?
The Achieva Family Trust has over 2,500 people who participate in the trust. And what we wanted to look at is how we could expand our marketing efforts for that trust. And we were looking for pledges of approximately $700,000 so that we can increase the long-term financial security for those people with disabilities, to offer them the peace of mind to not only the individuals but also to the families, and to decrease the families' reliance on a public welfare system. And what we want to do is establish a marketing campaign so that we can educate more families, and we estimate there's at least 500 or 5,000 families out there that we could educate, as well as add some additional staff to help expand our family trust services.
What about expanding the pallet manufacturing business? Oh, that's in Bridgeville, right, Reed?
That's in Bridgeville, yes.
This is a social entrepreneurship.
Yes. And what we want to do is we have a $1.6 million plan to invest in equipment that will significantly increase our production capability, generate revenue at the Bridgeville plant for manufacturing the facility, and to create competitive jobs for 35 more additional workers. We also are planning on purchasing, which we have already, a saw line, which is very automated. It would give us the capability to be much more competitive with our competitors, and plus it'll help us become more efficient. Also, with the $1.6 million, we made our plant, our Bridgeville plant, much more energy efficient.
Speaking of that, so Achieva is going green as well, stability and sustainability.
We're trying to generate $3.3 million. We have over 100 facilities within Achieva and we really want to be as cost effective as we can and to be as energy efficient as we can. And what we want to do is look at our roofs, looking at our windows, looking at our HVACs, looking at our furnaces to make them much more energy efficient. That savings then could be reinvested back into Achieva for additional services to provide for those people on the waiting list.
So when complete, this whole project that Reed is talking about, innovation in support of people with disabilities, Achieva's commitment to the community, it's an $8 million campaign, and it started 2 years ago. And would you say, Reed, you're $7.2 million there?
$7.2 million. Yes.
Oh,
and
man.
if anybody would really like to make a donation or a pledge to any one of these initiatives, they can just by contacting us at 412-995-5000, or if they just want to make a general pledge.
And when complete, this project that Reed was just talking about is going to expand Achieva's capacity to serve the growing needs of its customers through direct programming, economies of scale, reduction in annual operating expenses, shrinking the overhead, and increased business for the organization's pallet manufacturing operation in Bridgeville. So providing people with disabilities with the training and gainful employment that will enhance their lives and enable them to contribute more fully to the life of their region, ensure that fitting and successful residential arrangements, as Reed was talking about, they will be available to people with disabilities for years to come, being able to offer a broad population the promise of realistic, accessible investment solutions to the one question that virtually all family caregivers to people with disabilities face: what will become of my loved one if I become incapacitated or I die first? That must be difficult, Reed, trying to figure out somebody's financial future, somebody with a severe disability, learning disability, physical disability. What's going to happen to them?
Well, that's just it. We try to educate families as best we can.
And the caregivers, what's going to happen to the caregivers?
Exactly. And we try to educate not only the caregivers but the families as best we can in terms of planning for the future, so that they don't, whenever they do become age, and things happen to them, that they do have the peace of mind that their loved one is going to be cared for and that there is a plan in place for them.
This program's airing on Sunday the 16th, Reed. Next Saturday is your promenade. What's the deal? Is it too late to get involved?
It is not too late. We anticipate right now we have about 450 people who are planning on attending our promenade. This is one of our big fundraisers that we have every year. It's held at the Weston Convention Center Hotel. It begins at 6 o'clock. Tickets can be purchased by contacting us at 412-995-5000, and we have tickets still available. We have raffle tickets that we have where the winner could win $10,000. This is first place. Second place
Wow.
is $5,000, and third place is $2,500. We sell 1,000 tickets for that. Tickets can be purchased at $50 a ticket, or 3 tickets for $125. We have a lot of silent auction items. We have a lot of gift basket auction items. We also have a live auction where we auction off a trip to Hawaii, a week's trip to Hawaii, a week's trip to Florida, to Disney World. One of the more interesting things that we're going to be auctioning off is Clint Hurdle, manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates,
Sure.
donated for 4 people to come down to the field during batting practice and then be escorted by him up to his office to help with the lineup, and then receive 4 tickets to the ball game for that night.
Oh, that is huge. So it's the promenade for Achieva. This is one of their 2 major fundraisers. It's next Saturday, March 22nd, at the Weston Convention Center downtown.
That's correct.
And also the Achieva Golf Outing. That's August 18th. Reed?
Yes, we have our annual golf outing. Even though it's raining out today and really snowing, we're thinking ahead. August 18th, it's a Monday, we have our annual golf outing. It'll be held at Valley Brook Country Club, which is located in McMurray.
Mm-hmm.
Our tee time is at 11:45 a.m. And again, we have different sponsor levels, from a bronze sponsorship for 4 golfers and a hole sign to gold sponsorships, which has 4 golfers and a hole sign and name recognition. And we also have single golfers who come, and the cost for that is $250 per person. This also includes brunch. It also includes dinner. And again, we have a silent auction. We also have live auction items that we do at the golf event. And if you'd like more information, it'll be posted closer to that time on our website.
www.achieva.info, and the number again from Reed, 412-995-5000. Achieva is the only agency of its kind here in Western PA, providing comprehensive services and supports for people with disabilities and their families from pre-birth and throughout an individual's entire life cycle. From early intervention therapies for infants and toddlers to in-home support for medically fragile senior citizens, Achieva provides a full spectrum of services for people of all ages and all abilities, and their families too, for their entire lifespan. Reed Wolf, Senior Vice President of Achieva and President of Achieva Supports. Thank you so much, Reed.
Thank you, Sean.
This has been Pittsburgh Sunday Morning. My name's Sean McDowell.